Hello, my name's Joe, and in this course I'm going to take you through how to create photogrammetry models for films, TV and games. If you find this helpful, please like and subscribe and hit that bell for more videos, and don't forget to check out my website 3dassetlibrary.com for Unreal and Unity Engine assets. Also, if you find this helpful, please check out my Patreon below for exclusive content relating to photogrammetry games. So now what we're going to do is talk about decimating. So a quick rundown of what decimating is it's taking something that's very high poly and then reducing the poly count on it. So basically, for people that don't know, you'll have loads of little, say, squares and called faces, and what that'll do is that will basically make those faces bigger. But obviously, the more you decimate something, the more quality you potentially could lose. So this is a matter of, in some cases, trial and error to get the best quality to polygon count ratio. So down here we've got our faces and vertices count here. So what we'll do, there's two ways of doing this. You can do it initially when you process your model. So when we go to chunk, process, build mesh, we can drop down the face count here and choose custom and then say put 10,000 polygons there. Or the one I prefer to use is tools, mesh, decimate. So here we've got our target face count. So it's saying here currently that we've got 658,000 faces, and we're going to target count it down to say 200,000. But what we'll do is we'll put it down to say 10,000, and we'll press OK. And what this is going to ask you to do is, what do you want to replace the model? We'll say no, because we basically want to create a duplicate of this, and this will show you a little trick of how to get normal maps out of this in a separate video. I'll do that as a little snippet video. So what we'll do is we'll press no. So this is going to basically keep the original model and now generate a new model. And depending obviously on how fast your computer is, you can see here that it's decimated it down. The face count's now 10,000, and it looks like it's actually done a decent job of this. So now what we can do is, when you decimate something, you need to reprocess the texture. So it's the same principle as before. Right click, process, texture. We want to do our ambient occlusion and leave that as it is. We can leave it as depth. We can get it from the model, the initial model we're on, but we're just going to leave it as the defaults and just check all of that. Yep. So this is going to be the same principle as before. This is going to go white and give us our ambient occlusion. So as before, we've got our ambient occlusion map here. So then we want to go right click on the chunk, process, texture, and we'll go to diffuse map. Ignore normal map for the minute, so we'll come back to that. So diffuse map and the same principles, make sure they're all the same. Yep. And press OK. So that's just going to go through and process our diffuse map. And now we've got our texture applied. So you can see here that we've got a very good result. Decimated. There's nothing here that stands out as being wrong. We might even be able to decimate it more. So as you see there, we've gone down from 600,000, so we can switch. If I just drop that down, and I said about not basically deleting the previous model when it asked, do you want to replace this model, so we can switch between the two. So we've got our one that's 658,000 here. You can see slight differences in the boot. Just switch back to the other one. Yeah, I mean, very subtle differences, which is great. It's perhaps the slight differences in the textures and things like that, but there's nothing here that you can, differentiate. Say, oh, that's a really bad mistake. It's even closed up our hole here a tiny bit as well, so it's kind of good for that kind of thing. So yeah, as I say, the reason I've kept the high quality one is for this purpose, is that we can see what has changed, and has anything changed here that could have potentially affect the model in itself, and also we'll be able to generate our normal map from that. So I'll show that in a snippet video. So let's move on to the next bit. So what we learnt in this section was how to export our model, export our textures, import them into our 3D modeling software, apply the textures, and then reset the position of the boot to the grid. Then we moved on to decimating our boot down into something that was a lot less poly count, and showing the differences between that. What we'll be doing in the next section is just a few little tips and tricks that I found in Metashape that should be able to be applied across all programs, which will be things like importing custom retopologized models, creating custom UV maps so that you can cut your boot up into something neater, creating normal maps as well, which will allow us to get some of this bumpy detail on a map without it being actually in the model itself, so it allows the computer to basically not work as hard. So what we'll do is we'll move over to that section. If you don't want to move over to that section and you're happy with where you've got, that's absolutely brilliant. But here we go.